What is up, cheeseheads? Welcome back to BAM GPG. So, Bryson, got some kind of breaking news late today. We're going to break that down here a little bit in this episode here, Bryson. But after 4 seasons with the Green Bay Packers, Rich Bisaccia is officially stepping down from the special teams coordinator position for the Green Bay Packers. And, to be honest, Bryson, it's about time, right?
Yeah.
I want to be very clear here from the start of this episode here, Bryson, that, you know, I truly do think this is the right move for the Green Bay Packers, moving on from them, right? And it doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's anything personal to Rich. I know he's a kind of a player's type of coach for the Packers. It doesn't mean he didn't bring any value to the Packers, right? And it's hard to see where he did, right? Sometimes where you see kind of the late season blunders that we did with the Packers. But if we're being honest here, Bryson, it just didn't show, right? His 4 year 10 year with the Green Bay Packers, you just didn't see enough out of him to say the special teams was fixed, right? And just not being terrible anymore isn't good enough for a championship caliber team.
Well, yeah. But I am really happy that with Bisaccia is gone. The only question is, who are we going to get?
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see which direction they go with that. Maybe it's somebody in house that they're looking to promote, or maybe an up and comer. You never know out of left field with that. So that'll be interesting. We'll cover more of that, but I want to give the proper context here, Bryson, with this move here. When Bisaccia, when he was hired under Matt LaFleur, I think after the 2021 seasons, Green Bay had one of the worst special teams in the league, right? You think
Yeah.
back to that 2021 playoff game against the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, you had a block punt, you had that blocked field goal. The season was over, right?
Yeah.
It was a low scoring game. Special teams cost us that game. And that was, truly, I think that was a championship caliber team that year. We were the number one seed in the NFC that year. So it was a heartbreaker. Special teams absolutely let us down that game. And that unit was absolutely, again, a liability in that 2021 season, right? So the mission after that season, Bryson, for the Packers, for Matt LaFleur, was a pretty simple one, actually, right? It was fix it, right? Simple. Fix the special teams, stabilize it, do what you have to do, raise the competitive level on that side of the ball. And, you have to it can't be costing you playoff games, right? Special teams cannot be costing you playoff games. And to his credit, right, for the most part, he stabilized it. He stopped some of the meltdowns, although you did see quite a few meltdowns towards the end of the year here with the Green Bay Packers. You think back to that onside, most of it against Chicago, right? You think back to the onside kick, all the missed field goals. It wasn't great, right? So that was step one of it, right, for the Green
Yeah.
Bay Packers.
And I feel like I do not know how a special teams coordinator job can be hard.
You wouldn't think so, right? So, but Green Bay finds a way to make that hard, right? So here's
Yeah.
the real question here, Bryson. Did the special teams for the Green Bay Packers ever become, kind of a competitive advantage under Rich Bisaccia? And I don't think the answer to that is yes. I would say absolutely they did not become a competitive advantage for the Green Bay
Okay.
Packers after his hire, right? They better in 2021 than what they were under Rich Bisaccia? No, they weren't, right? So they did raise the level of play a little bit after Bisaccia, but not enough, right? Were they elite? No, absolutely they were not elite under Rich Bisaccia. They were constantly, were they consistently flipping the field position in games? Again, not really. They were not under Bisaccia. Were they feared? Absolutely not. Not special teams. It was our weakness. Outside of the flashes back when Keyshawn Nixon first started returning kicks, there wasn't truly a sustained identity to the special teams unit. And when you're paying a veteran coordinator like Rich Bisaccia, the type of salary you were paying him, right? You're not looking for just average performance on that side of the ball, right? You're looking, really for that hidden yardage. You're looking for, a January difference type of special teams unit out there, not one that's going to be consistently costing you games throughout the regular
Well, yeah.
season and the playoffs.
And I think a part of it was also we've been getting bad kickers.
Yeah. You're not wrong. So just zooming out here a little bit, Bryson, on this one here, the Packers, we know they're entering full contender mode, right?
Yeah.
If that Micah Parsons trade didn't tell you anything, it's that the Packers are ready to win now. And you've got a young Jordan Love, who continues to ascend year after year for the Packers. The defense has talent all over the place there, although there are some holes, especially cornerback position. This roster, they're still young, they're fast, especially on the
Mhm.
defensive side of the ball. The standard, for the Packers is you can't have the standard no longer just don't go out there and mess it up, right? That can't be the standard. The standard now in Green Bay is championships for
Yeah.
and championship teams, Bryce, and I think you agree, and they don't, just survive on special teams, right? They weaponize it. They're able to, field position in playoff games matter a lot.
Mhm.
Momentum swings, they decide a lot of those tight matchups, not only on the postseason, but the regular season as well. One explosive return, that can flip everything in a game. That can flip momentum, can flip uh it can be a big decision maker in a game. And you
Mhm.
just haven't seen that out of a Green Bay special teams unit at all under Bisaccia. Again, outside of some of Keyshawn Nixon's flashes when he first started returning kicks. Now,
And
Green, go ahead.
I'm gonna be honest, I do not remember the last time that we returned a kicker punt return.
It's been a while. It has, and it seemed like it was the carousel this year. You never knew who your returners were, right? It seemed to be constantly rotating. They didn't seem to have a man in place for that. I mean, you were seeing our wide receivers. You saw Josh Jacobs back there returning punts at times. You saw two running backs returning kickoffs. It just seemed to be a carousel all season, just a mess. And again, Rich Bisaccia, did he bring some stability to the special teams unit? Yes, he did. But stability and excellence, don't get me wrong, there's two different things, right? And he raised the floor, right? He did not raise the ceiling on special teams after that 2021 season. And if you want to win a Super Bowl in this league, right,
Yeah.
Bryson, you have to raise ceilings. You
Yeah.
see that year after year for these Super Bowl winning teams, and sometimes that means making some uncomfortable decisions, like this one today. Again, a lot of the players loved him. I know he was good friends with Matt LaFleur, but you have to make these uncomfortable decisions if you want to raise to the level of
Yeah.
excellence that propels you to championship games and Super Bowls, right? So, again, sometimes that means saying, good just isn't good enough, right? That's no disrespect to him. It's just ambition from the Green Bay Packers.
Oh yeah.
And Bryson, as you mentioned, change here. What is Green Bay going to go out and do for special teams now? Are they going to look in house? Are they going to go outside? Are they going to go, younger, somebody with a more aggressive philosophy on that side of the ball, more schematic creativity? Those are all things that are possible. Maybe a greater emphasis on explosive returns. You find your guy, you keep him back there. You don't have such a carousel of returns. Return men out there. You're not putting your wide receiver one, wide receiver two out there. You're not putting your running back one out there constantly. Maybe you have a few less blocked field goals. Maybe we can get an actual kicker in there that can make some field goals. I feel like at times Bisaccia really kind of stayed with kickers too long, right? You,
Yeah.
you you look at our history of kickers under Bisaccia, and sometimes he stayed with them a little bit too long, thinking maybe he could change them, right? Maybe he saw some potential in him, but just was never fully able to get that potential out of him, right? So we'll see what they do, right? And it'll be interesting. We'll certainly cover it once they do fill that void on special teams. But again, fresh voices, in that locker room on that side of the ball can certainly bring some fresh energy to the special teams unit that Green Bay so desperately needed, right? You
Yeah.
think back to the playoff game, we make the field goals, do what we have to do on special teams, we win that game. So
Yeah.
again, energy matters, especially units that are like special teams that are truly built on effort and discipline, really, right?
Yeah.
So again, this isn't anything personal to Rich. It's simply professional. For Rich Bisaccia, he helped clean up a little bit of a mess after that 2021 season, but he didn't
Mhm.
turn special teams into a weapon like it needed to be, like you see other teams do. And if the Packers want to take that, kind of final step into contender territory, upgrades have to be made all over the
Yeah.
place, right? Everywhere on that team, you're seeing it happen now. Even in areas that are just fine, right?
Cornerback. we're probably gonna need a running back because Josh Jacobs is probably gonna be gone.
It could be. Yep. So we'll see which directions they go. There are some good running backs that are going to be available out there. You think of Kenneth Walker, the Super Bowl MVP,
We saw.
Brees Hall, certainly. If the Jets don't place a tag on him, it doesn't sound like Seattle, from what I heard today, is going to be placing a tag on Kenneth
Yeah.
Walker, so he could be available. And Green Bay, I love Josh Jacobs, but again, it wouldn't hurt to find an explosive back to put back there. I thought it was going to be Marshawn Lloyd.
But let's be honest, he's never gonna be on the field ever.
It doesn't appear like that. He's been on the team what, 2 years now, and I don't think
Yeah,
we've
true.
hardly seen him. Maybe some preseason action. So real disappointment there. I was excited about him. Maybe he can get right like Christian Watson did after all those string of injuries he had. But we'll see. Let us know what you think in the comments here. Was this the right move for the Green Bay Packers? Are you excited about the move like we are? Because certainly we've been preaching Rich Bisaccia has to go. He's paid way too much for
Yeah.
what too little he is putting out on the field there for the Green Bay special team. So let us know what you think in the comments. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. And Bryson, as always,
Let's go, Pat, go.